this is my first presence in this particular program, I would also like to take the opportunity to welcome you all. And I believe that it has been very interesting journey, since Monday. And I also understand that you have to stay up until 11 to 12 o'clock, to undergo the training, but I hope you enjoyed very much. Alhamdulillah. So today we're going to be discussing on Islamic social finance. So let me start the presentation by looking into Islamic finance first. So before we go into Islamic social finance, let us look quickly into Islamic finance, because I think most of us would be very familiar of. Everybody has been talking about Islamic finance, globally. So we can see in terms of the growth of Islamic finance, the cumulative asset growth rate has been 6%. Currently it stood around 2.4 trillion US dollars. As you can see there, 2.4 trillion US dollars, and in 2023 it has been projected that it will grow to more, to a bigger amount, which is 3.8 trillion US dollars. So that is Islamic finance. So what is Islamic finance comprised of? If I were to ask you, because I'm actually assuming that most of you would know what Islamic finance is all about. So what comprises of Islamic finance? Not Islamic social finance, Islamic finance. Banking. Capital market, takaful. Islamic funds, exactly. So that would be the breakdown. As per to our understanding, more than 70% of the asset basically sits in Islamic banking. And then we also have takaful, we also have capital market, but mainly sukuk plays a very predominant role. And Malaysia has also been well known for the domestic sukuk issuance country. And we also have Islamic funds. All those unit trust funds, the wealth management funds that are wearing the hats of Islamic, being basically tagged as Islamic funds. So these are the overall details, of the Islamic finance asset. Okay, and this is basically just to show the ecosystem, particularly the countries, that has been playing very predominant role in Islamic finance growth. As you can see, Saudi Arabia, Malaysia, Indonesia, right, and some other Gulf countries, like Jordan, Kuwait. You can also see how do they actually be contributing to the growth of Islamic finance as a whole. Okay. Now, then let us also ask ourselves, what is actually Islamic social finance? Is it similar like social finance? And then why is it needed? The growth or the initiation of Islamic finance many years back, in Malaysia it's like 3 decades ago, 30 over years ago. Isn't it sufficient to tackle the maslahah of the ummah? Not necessary. So that's why the reason why we are talking about Islamic social finance now.
It's like the issue of like the Zakat, that doesn't mean you cannot have that.
Exactly. Similar issues that. Okay, so let me also, before we go to the exact definition of what Islamic social finance is all about, let us look into some statistics. The UNDP estimated that by 2030, between 50 to 80% of the world's poor will reside in fragile and conflict-affected countries, many of which are also in Muslim-majority countries, or with countries that have significant Muslim population. So we find that's a bit contradicting, isn't it? We are the leader of Islamic finance, right? Islamic finance is basically in a very high growth rate, has been enjoying a very rapid growth, 2.4 trillion US dollars, right? And it will be projecting more, 3.6 trillion US dollar in 2032, But despite the rapid growth of all this, comprising banking, takaful, sukuk, Islamic funds, there is more to be done, isn't it? Particularly when we are looking in terms of the world's poor population, which is going to be residing in most of the Muslim majority countries. Yeah. So of course there is a need for a not-for-profit sector, and we know that mostly the banks. Yeah, we can't say that they're doing this solely. The initiation of Islamic banking. That's why it has always been a debate. Yeah, whether Islamic banking is tackling the maslahah of the ummah and things like that, isn't it? Yeah. So the need for a not-for-profit sector, just like Islamic social finance, should be there to jointly, right, tackle the maslahah of the ummah, right? Now, so if you refer to the Islamic social finance, it's basically defined or refers to modes of finance that are rooted in Islamic ethics, intended for the social benefit. Yeah, so this would be including zakat, yeah, the almsgiving, the wakaf, right? Dr. Moore would like to, normally he would mention it as waqf, yeah, with silent Q, right? So wakaf, yeah, sadaqah, as well as fadlul hasan, yeah. And I would also like to put in the element of crowdfunding in, meaning I would explain, yeah, I will discuss or highlight the element of zakat, the element of wakaf, yeah. And as mentioned earlier by Dr. Nizam, Prof. Noma will be looking specifically into microfinance, right? And I will also be looking into crowdfunding. And towards the end, you can see that all these social finance tools is basically interconnected, right? So Islamic social finance can help government and communities to meet a range of development and financial needs. Okay, so let us look into each of the tools, yeah? Zakat. As a Muslim, most of us would know about our responsibility to pay zakat. Yeah? If you have any wealth, yeah, if you have any income, yeah, if you're working and things like that, there's a specific portion of our income that needs to be paid as zakat, right? So it's a mandatory requirement. In fact, it's one of the 5 pillars of Islam. Yeah, so we have to. There is an obligation in our end. Yeah, to basically pay zakat, right? And it is also being highlighted, of course, in the Quran. Yeah, Surah Al-An'am, verse 141. Give the due alms or zakat on the day of harvest and do not waste anything. He does not love the wasters. And then the other one is they refer to Surah Ar-Rum, verse 38. Therefore, you shall give the relatives their rightful share of charity, as well as the poor and the traveling alien. This is better for those who sincerely seek God's pleasure, and they are the winners. Yeah, so most of us would be familiar of this, right? Okay. So let us see what tool what is the total collection, yeah, when in terms of talking about the zakat as one of the tools of Islamic finance, social finance. According to the UNHCR, the United Nation H is for the High Commissioner for Refugees Zakat Program, in its 2019 report, global zakat collection has reached $76 billion. Yeah? So this $76 billion is basically very, very modest if you were to compare to the total high net worth of individuals in the Middle East, which is about $1.7 trillion. Yeah? And if you were to compare the 76 billion collection, the total collection in 2008, to the total Islamic finance industry, it's even smaller, it's even modest, which is about 2.5 trillion just now, we highlighted earlier, right? That's why I started out by giving you the facts of the Islamic finance, the total value of Islamic finance, because we want to see what can we compare in terms of the collection of zakat, yeah? So the top 5 Muslim countries that has collected the highest amount of zakat are Turkey, then Saudi Arabia, then we have Bangladesh, Malaysia, number 4, and then Egypt being number 5. Okay? Now, The actual 76 billion that has been collected in 2018, is basically far, far behind from the full zakat potential that can be collected. The UNHCR estimated that the potential of zakat collection is not 76 billion, but 356 billion. If a proper zakat governance is in place. For UNHCR program in 2019, they have estimated about 7 billion to be used for their refugees purposes, to assist in their refugees program. And this is merely 10% of the total collection. But that's why if you can see here, right, if the potential annual zakat can be achieved, which is 356 billion US dollars, there are even more programs that can be done. More extension to the needy, to the poor that can be done. Because just taking from 10% of the actual zakat collection of 76 billion, they can already meet their budget in 2019. Right? So the top 5 countries that have the potential zakat collection, being the similar countries, for Saudi Arabia, Indonesia. Indonesia having the biggest Muslim population in the world. That's why I think I've read one of the article written by Umar Muchi. He's the crowdfunding pioneer, Islamic crowdfunding pioneer. He said if, let's say, each of the Muslim in those that are wealthy, of course, were to pay zakat, this amount can be, the amount that can be reached is even bigger than what we can achieve thus far. Even agree to the statistic. Not even 76 billion, but 300 billion. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine how much can we basically give? And we have been talking a lot about SDG. I'm sure that most of you would know. How many goals do the SDG have? 17 goals. What's the first SDG goal? No poverty. And unfortunately, as it has been projected earlier, the poor people to be projected are mostly residing in Muslim countries or Muslim population. Right? Meaning perhaps there is no proper governance maybe. So that's basically the potential of zakat. Right? So I'm going to show you 2 best practices in terms of zakat. One of it being the refugee funding, the one that I have highlighted earlier. The refugee program, in 2016, they have actually put a certain allocation for eligible refugee families in Jordan, by using the zakat fund. So they have basically received about 14.4 million. You don't have to read. I'm going to give you the slides later. So you can basically, I'm just going to highlight the gist of it. So the program received about 14.4 million US dollars from 2016 to 2018, of which has been donated from institution, and the remaining being given by the wider public, and this has been used to assist in this particular program. The refugee funding for the families in Jordan, Syrian refugees, Jordan as well as Lebanon. And another example, the international best practice is actually in Sudan, where the government has been using the Zakat Chamber in collaboration with the Ministry of Welfare and Social Security. Social Security has been using what they call as government social safety net intervention from the Zakat Fund itself. So in 2012, they have allocated about 141 million US dollars to fund this program, and they have actually been given this assistance in the mode of cash transfers, subsidies for the poor households, and giving some education fee waivers for the education fee and things like that. In 2016, they have also give support to 80,000 university students, giving them waiver in terms of the fee, education fee, based on the or coming from the zakat itself, right? Okay, any questions on zakat before? I didn't put a Malaysian case per se, because we do have the numbers, but I didn't put it in, so I just highlight in terms of the international best practice, But of course, in Malaysia, we also have a very systematic zakat collection, The biggest zakat collection is of course coming from Selangor, and it has also been, if I can show you one of the, can bring it to the Baga Zakat Selangor. The website is now very, very
rich.
Yeah, very rich in terms of information and very, updated. So if you can see, this is Zakat Selangor, right? It can also be in English. So as you can see, that's about starting from January to June this year, the collection is about 393 million ringgit Malaysia, and they have actually distributed about 364 million ringgit, And they also have a zakat calculator, and they make it easier for people to pay zakat online, So they even have a zakat report, So it's the transparency, and I'm sure they are going towards better governance in terms of managing the zakat fund, So, thanks, brother, for your insights, I think I do agree that one of the issues is education, right? People need to be educated. In fact, we can't say that only the youngsters, the millennials, some of the baby boomers as well, might not know how to calculate the zakat, because zakat has many forms. That's why education is one thing, and of course it's a very normal thing to do when you collected the zakat on top of what Basnas. But one of the things that we should be aware of, particularly in Indonesians, when you started to question the way Basnas is doing things, that's why you have to tackle the issues. You need to know how, like what you said just now, you don't know how do they calculate, whether they do distribute it to the right person, to the asnaf and things like that, So those issues has to be settled, because at our end as well in Malaysia, the similar thing. I think Prof. Aslam may also have things to actually add into. We also have similar issues. Some of us also question, rather than paying zakat, bisujud, and we don't know where do they distribute it to, the asnaf and things like that. Might as well I do it, myself. But that also will create another issue. Like what you are facing now, you have to actually really properly manage it on your own and have the ustad and things like that. That's why education is important, and that's why we can see that what the Baga Zakat Selangor has been doing, they do the zakat calculation, so that we can easily calculate the zakat. And as you can see, there's different types of zakat here, and you can just put in, and this has of course been endorsed by the Sharia people, by the ulama, and they have agreed on how to actually calculate them. So education is of course very important. I don't know whether Prof. Aslam would like to add something on that.
Maybe just a quick comment.
I just want to mention your point is not only for issue of people not wanting to pay to official sources in Malaysia, even globally. So the figure that global figure is also, one of the issues is there's lots of people who are paying their zakat, but they're not going through formal channels. And then maybe also for you to keep in mind, this is a major concern for so many different people for so many different reasons. For example, as far as the authorities in Muslim countries, they are concerned because people are not paying to the authority, right? But then there's also another group, with all these issues regarding terrorism and so on. So now, many of the agencies, international agencies, are also worried because this money is not coming out in formal channels. So they do not know what the money is used for, and then there is allegation that money is used to promote activities that include and terrorism. So there are lots of issues behind the figure. But we can be very confident it is much higher than what is stated here, whether it's in Indonesia or Malaysia or even globally. At the end of the day, it is all about trust. It is about trust. Right? You must be able to make people trust that you are doing your job right.
I want to ask, as a Zakat payer, I want to know. I mean, I feel like it's weird that in terms of integrity and transparency, it's like in lots of Zakat institutions, they not really emphasize on it. Because it's, actually, I think it's a very important thing in order to gain trust of the community. And for Zakat report, I want to ask, is Zakat report is actually audited by the other community? Because it's very important. Like, you cannot force people. I'm telling my right as a Zakat payer is that I want to know where my money is going, whether it's really go to the needed asnaf or not. So actually, they needed to audit it. And I feel like, I wonder why nobody is like emphasizing on this. It's very weird. And I feel like it's one more in Sadaqah, because Sadaqah also one of the things that people pay to the mosque in order to see whether the fund is channeled properly. You cannot just use whatever you want to the fund, like paying somebody just giving to our lectures is 1,000, because it exists in Malaysia. You pay one preacher in the mosque is 1,000. So they have to think that is it an efficient usage of money, or actually can distribute it to the poor and everything else, because there exists poor there. I don't think that somebody need 1,000 just to give speech for 2 hours, but it exists because we have like celebrity giving his speech in mosque. So that's okay. So that's my question. Thank you.
I think with regards to the accounts, I also understand and aware that this has been a long-standing issue of all the accounts to be audited. In fact, for mosques, they do produce their own financial statements. Like in my surau as well. Sometimes they get collections of more than 50 over 1,000 in a month. So just that is a surau. That's not even a mosque. So you can imagine mosque how much is their collection. And I do trust, because most of the mosques they do have their trust treasurers, and things like that. Yes, they produce, but again, whether it has been audited or not is it's also a question. And it has also been a long-standing issue. In fact, I remember a couple of years back, I also raised the same issues to Prof. Aslam. Why aren't all these financial statements being audited by auditors? We have come up with a lot of Islamic accounting standard and things like that, and then we are still questioning the tool of Islamic social finance, which has been getting a lot of attention of late. I will go on this part very quickly, but I also have, like I said, I will be sharing with you the slides, so you can also look into it at your own time. In terms of Wakaf, we say that we know that Wakaf has 4 pillars. There must be the founder, right, or the owner of the asset. The Wakaf asset, the beneficiaries, as well as the sighah, the expression, that I am the owner of this property. I would like to wakaf this property for the use of blah blah blah. So the rest of the slide, basically looks into each of the condition of the 4 pillars. For example, the condition for the founder, the wakif, he must own the property at the moment of before they're actually giving it for wakaf. The property must belong to me. I can't do wakaf on the property, on the house that I actually own. I can't say that I own them if, let's say, I'm still paying the bank, right? So he must have the legal capacity. He should not have the intention to deprive the inheritors. Of course, this one is very difficult to assess, because it's in your niyat. I want to deprive my inheritors, so I wakaf this. Bankruptcy is a blockage for legal capacity. Of course, if you have debts, you should pay your debt first before you wakaf your property. I think it's general understanding. The founder is Muslim, or the Wakif has to be Muslim. Yeah. For Muslim Wakif, of course, we know and we are very convinced that whatever we give out, yeah, because once we wakaf our property, yeah, in terms of money, in terms of buildings or whatsoever, then the property will belong to Allah, isn't it? Yeah. So, but again, the Wakif can also be non-Muslim, yeah, and of course the reward will be in this world only, yeah, that's what we believe, right? These are also some of the conditions, yeah, that has to be with the Wakaf asset, yeah. Must be valuable. You cannot wakaf something that is useless, yeah. Plastics, everybody talks about plastic nowadays, isn't it? You go to the shopping mall, you should not use plastics, yeah. So things that are, what do you call it? Things or wakaf, that asset that you want to wakaf must be valuable, yeah. It must be ain. It must be, the object must be able to be seen, must be able to be touched, yeah. Goods, property, assets, right? The wakaf or usufruct, yeah, the legal right to use someone else's asset to generate income or other benefits. Basically, it's disputed, yeah, but as you can see, if the mechanism is a proper mechanism, yeah, like what I'll share with you later, in terms of the use of the benefit, yeah, or the usufruct of that particular property or asset can still be used, yeah, as wakaf asset. And now, recently, the wakaf, the cash wakaf, yeah, the cash wakaf is also getting a lot of attention nowadays, yeah. It can also be endowed, yeah, which will be invested into some generating projects, yeah. Although there are some scholars who have, what do you call it, a dispute over that, but generally speaking, yeah, cash wakaf can be made, yeah, as being practiced during the Ottoman Empire, yeah. The appointment of the administrator or the mutawali or the trustee, yeah, is also must be there, yeah, must be specified, yeah. The asset must be capable of being utilized, right, without being consumed. What does it mean?
Sustainable asset.
Yes, sustainable asset. Yeah, meaning if let's say you are wakaf, the wakaf essentially comes from cash wakaf, yeah. The cash wakaf must be invested into a generating investment that can generate income. Yeah, so the income that is generated from that particular investment is to be distributed to the beneficiaries. Yeah. It can be immovable properties, it can also be movable properties, yeah, and like what we have highlighted earlier, it must be in existence, okay? And lastly, condition number 10, yeah, the condition for the beneficiary, right? Wakaf can be made in favor of charitable institutions, such as wakaf for a mosque. It can also be made in favor of relatives, yeah, where the wakaf goes to the poor or other charitable purposes. So under the wakaf system, it can be two. Yeah, it can be divided into two. One is the specified wakaf, and the other one is the unspecified wakaf. Yeah. So the specified wakaf, meaning you already specified who are the beneficiaries. I give money to the universities, 100,000. I want the undergraduate students to be given scholarship. So most of you will not be getting it, yeah, because you are doing postgraduate studies, right? Yeah, I want my 100,000 ringgit that I have given as cash wakaf to be given as scholarship to only undergraduate students, only those students who are doing bachelor in economics, for example. Yeah, I can make such what do you call it, expression, yeah, such siga, yeah. So or it can be unspecified, yeah. The beneficiaries are specified not in person but in group. Yeah, this money or these buildings, yeah, can be used to the poor, to the needy. So as long as you fit the criteria, yeah, it could be made as such. Okay. And lastly, the fourth pillars, yeah, the condition for the expression. Yeah, expression, because it has to be expressed, yeah, that this particular, like what I mentioned earlier, this particular property or cash, yeah, should be given to whom, yeah, meaning it's either specified or general one, okay? Alright, and this is not exhaustive, yeah, you may want to refer to the sources that I've actually taken it from, yeah, there's a very long list for the expression. Okay. Now let's look in Malaysia. Me and my team, Dr. Muhammad Asmi is also specializing in Wakaf. Yeah, we were not able to find a global statistics in terms of Wakaf. Yeah, so what I can share you is some of the statistics that coming in Malaysia, of which most of the Wakaf looks into Wakaf land or land assets. And so in Malaysia, we have a land asset being Wakaf, which is valued more than 1.2 billion ringgit Malaysia as at 2017. And the total hectares of the land is comprising about 11,091.35 hectares. And as you can see, we have different institutions under the State Religious Council, right, for each of the states. So these are the Wakaf land, and as you can see from the table as well, they are specific, or they are general purposes, and they are also for specific purposes, right? For specific purposes, it could be for mosques, for cemetery, for schools, right? Or for the general purposes, it can be used for the land can be used for any usage, or for building houses, for the affordable housing and things like that. Okay, cash wakaf has basically gained momentum in Malaysia, like what I've mentioned, right? Several state religious council currently offers cash wakaf programs, religious councils such as in Penang, Selangor, Pahang, Johor, Terengganu, Negeri Sembilan, Melaka, Kuala Lumpur, Kedah, and Perlis. So some of these religious councils has already offered initiative to for people to do wakaf in form of cash. And I would also like to share with you our experience, the IIUM experience on cash wakaf. Endowment fund collection for cash wakaf in 2017 was merely 94,000 ringgit Malaysia. By 2018, the collection has grown by more than 3,000%, to 3.6 million ringgit. So what does this indicate? People have the ability to do cash, People want to wakaf their cash, so that they can basically be used for good purposes, for the education purposes. Particularly, this is IUM, meaning UIA, one of the international best practice, is of course the Zamzam Tower, of which King Abdul Aziz Wakaf, basically a trustee of a land where they wakaf that piece of land to build the Zamzam Tower. How many of you have been to Mecca? You see the Zamzam Tower, very nice building, very nice hotel. So in that building, that consists of shopping complex, a tower, a hotel, right? So this is the concept that they have been used in terms of wakaf, putting the piece of the wakaf land for commercial purposes. And later when you read this, you can basically look at how they actually make it doable. They have also used sukuk, in terms of financing for the building of the Zamzam Tower. Okay, the recent development. I'm not sure how many of you have heard of Wakaf blockchain. Most of you must have heard of blockchain, and I'm sure most of you have heard of Bitcoin, isn't it? So the Bitcoin, I always like to share this in class. We come to learn about Bitcoin first before we know about blockchain, isn't it? Isn't it? We know about Bitcoin, then we know about blockchain, right? Where in fact the Bitcoin could have not existed without the blockchain technology.
The Bitcoin is the one that made the blockchain.
Exactly. Because before that we couldn't care less. Why does Bitcoin make the blockchain famous? Because of the value, isn't it? Because if you recall, on the first usage of Bitcoin, it was first used to purchase what? Pizza, because they have their own community, yeah, that believes in the use of the Bitcoin, right? And they have, if you want to have that Bitcoin, you can only do it by two means. One is you mine it. Of course, you have to know all the algorithm, the maths behind it, yeah, the infrastructure, yeah. And the other one is that you buy it online, isn't it? Yeah, if you have that capacity of money, because one Bitcoin have the highest value, how much was it? 20/1000 per Bitcoin, US dollars, 20/1000 US dollars per Bitcoin. Yeah? So basically what I'm trying to highlight is that the blockchain is just a technology. It's just like using your email. Yeah, the Bitcoin is actually using your email. You can't use your email without what? If you have internet, can you log into your email? If you don't have internet? Can't, right? So a Bitcoin to a blockchain, yeah, is basically an email with the internet. It has to be supported by that particular technology. So what I'm trying to highlight here is Wakaf nowadays has started to use the blockchain technology. Yeah, they want to use the blockchain platform so that the collection can be made. The management, they know where does the money goes to. Yeah, if it's a cash Wakaf, where would it be invested on, right? And where would the money be distributed to, the beneficiaries and things like that. So they are using the blockchain technology to have a proper governance and proper transparency. Yeah. So if you like, you can go to Fintera. Yeah, but yeah, because I think I have another 10 more minutes. Yeah. You can just click here and you can go to Fintera. You can look in terms of what the Wakaf blockchain is all about. Yeah. The other thing that I also like to highlight is the renewed or digitalized way for Zakat, Wakaf and Sadaqah. How many of you have heard of Global Sadaqah? Yeah? Global Sadaqah is actually also a mean, yeah, to pay for your Zakat, to pay for your Wakaf and things like that. Yeah, so it is made very, we can see that they're trying to have a good governance, yeah, and they're trying to make it more transparent. For example, if you look into Zakat eligible campaign, yeah, they have all this campaign, yeah, which basically you can read on who are the people who needs the money, how much do they need, yeah, and you can choose which campaign that you want to support with, yeah, which is similar to crowdfunding, okay. And they also have the Wakaf campaign, right? The Zakat Wakaf campaign, of which you can also look into how much you can give, yeah, and which are the campaigns that you'd like to support and things like that. Okay? Right. Lastly, yeah, on crowdfunding, I started doing research on crowdfunding in 2015. Yeah, and because the time flies so fast, yeah, now it's already 2019, and I almost can't keep up with the dynamic. Yeah, in 2000, like I mentioned earlier, Kickstarter started out the crowdfunding in 2012. Yeah, Malaysia started to have their first platform on crowdfunding somewhere in 2012 as well. Yeah, being the pitch in, if you have heard of pitch in my starter. Yeah, so let us just have a quick look on what crowdfunding is all about. It's basically an internet-enabled way for businesses or other organizations to raise money in the form of donation or investment from multiple individuals. That's the definition given by World Bank. Yeah, why is it crowdfunding gets all the attention and things like that? Because of its promptness and simplicity. Yeah, why is it? It's not to say that it's simple, but if you relatively compare to getting money from financial institutions or banks, this is much more simpler. Yeah, but of course you need to go through the due diligence and things like that. Yeah, but if you're going for a certain type of crowdfunding, yeah, it's very much easier. Yeah, for example, they have 4 different types of crowdfunding: the donation, the reward, the lending, and equity. Right? For donation and reward, it is similar to what we have discussed earlier. The the sadaqah, the zakat, the wakaf. Yeah, they can just put up a campaign needing for some money to fund the hospital bills, yeah, for their kids or for their sons, yeah, for their daughters that need some medical attention, and they can easily raise money from that, yeah, based on the donation and the reward, yeah. And later they come with the equity crowdfunding, which is more like a business-like financing. Right, so I give you money, right, in the form of purchasing into your company. Yeah, it's just similar like shares, like equity, right? And lending, so far, there has been no Islamic lending. The P2P, the peer-to-peer lending, which has been endorsed in Malaysia, yeah, is still the conventional one. Yeah, so I'm not going to dwell more on that. Okay. Just to show you some statistics, yeah, which is as at 2016, the total funding volume has reached to about 35 billion US dollars, yeah, for the crowdfunding industry. Yeah, this is the global numbers. Yeah, now it's even more bigger than that. Okay. It is more efficient than traditional fundraising and it's free. Yeah, most of it are free. You can, some of the platforms, just you need to pay a very small or minimum fee, yeah. And they also sometimes they use this concept of if you manage to raise the fund, then you pay us fee. If you can't raise the fund, you don't pay us anything. Yeah, some of the crowdfunding platform. Okay, and these are some of the platforms, yeah, in Malaysia as well as in the universal or globally, yeah, the Kickstarter, the Indiegogo, right, the Pitch In, the Ethics Ventures and things like that. Okay, the recent development, not so recent, in 2016, yeah, they have initiated an Islamic crowdfunding alliance, right, comprising 8 international crowdfunding platforms. Yeah, because they see that there is a big acceptance, yeah, particularly by the Muslims, yeah, so that they can basically raise funds through this crowdfunding platform. So they made up this alliance. Yeah. In terms of trends and growth in Malaysia, we are also the first country in Asia Pacific to legislate the equity crowdfunding. Yeah, and we have also registered 6 peer-to-peer lending operators, the conventional one in 2018. Up until now, May 2019, we have around 21 crowdfunding platforms. Yeah? And as at March 2019, we have actually raised about 350 million via the equity crowdfunding as well as P2P financing. Yeah? That has been benefiting more than 900 Malaysian SMEs, yeah. So we can see that this as one of the tools, yeah, being used to raise funds, yeah, by some of the SMEs. Okay, if we can quickly go right for Ethics Ventures is of course very famous for their Islamic crowdfunding platforms, yeah. So you can see their campaigns, yeah, of which the layout is also similar, like the previous one that we have actually looked at, the Global Sadaqah, yeah, they have their campaign and things like that, yeah. So you can basically see what kind of project that you'd like to support, okay. And the other one, if I can quickly go to the Scholar Fund. Now, how many of you have heard of Scholar Fund? One of the founder, yes, good, brother. One of the founder is Tengku Syamil is our student. Yeah. So you can see that the purpose of the Scholar Fund is to assist all the students who are in need of funding. Yeah. And it's basically the campaign that they actually share, right? The details of where do they use the money, how much do they need, yeah? And you can basically go and read about the details, which campaigns you'd like to actually support, yeah? So this is actually the in thing, yeah? The current or the recent developments that we have in terms of the social finance, okay? Again, we know that the crowdfunding, particularly, not only the crowdfunding, but most of it are basically driven by the community, isn't isn't it? Yeah. So the more we are able to give, the more we are able to help people around us. Okay. And last but not least, I think I would also like to highlight. I highlighted earlier, yeah, that this Islamic social finance tools is also being used to achieve the 17 goals of the SDG, particularly the first one, yeah, the no poverty, the zero hunger, yeah, which is one of the major issues in the Muslim countries, yeah. Okay, I think ngam-ngam. Right, so that will be it. Yeah, I hope you have the total grasp of what Islamic finance, Islamic social finance is all about. Yeah, I'll be sharing with you the slides, and if do you have any questions? Okay. All right. Yes, brother.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Ashraf. I'm from
I'm
IIUM.
trying to recall your name.
Okay, first I have the question about the crowdfunding. How the government see this concept? Is it they want to give also what we call tax exemption or and so on? And the second one is based on doctor's opinion. Is it crowdfunding will surpass the pure Islamic tools like Zakat or Wakaf? And how we as a Muslim see this, because it maybe affect the collection, the performance of Zakat institution and so on. Thank you.
I'll tackle your second question first. Yeah, that's the total collection. I think it's not okay up until now. Like the statistics showed, yeah, March 2019, the total collection is already about 300 million ringgit Malaysia. Yeah. And if we were to compare, the Lembaga Zakat Selangor also collected quite roughly similar amount from January to June. They have also collected about 300 over million ringgit Malaysia. I don't see this as a competition, yeah, because I think, for example, Zakat, yeah, is actually a mandatory, right? So you need to, you could channel the Zakat to basically support all this campaign. I don't think there is any issues to that. If you have you have already calculated your portion of zakat and you want to pay directly to the beneficiaries, right, through this particular channel, yeah, that can be done. Yeah, but I see this as they basically complement each other. Yeah, it's not what do you call it, a challenge. Yeah, it's not. We are just giving more and more options for people to help the communities. Yeah, because as you can see, the initial growth for the crowdfunding is targeting on the reward and on the donation. Yeah, later then the equity crowdfunding comes to place. Yeah, which is targeting more towards the SMEs. Yeah, so I personally believe that this thing is basically efficient to give alternative financing, yeah, because if all the SMEs were to rely only on the financing by financial institution, yeah, it will be now they're getting stringent in giving the financing and things like that, so they have lesser and lesser options, yeah. That's why the crowdfunding equity crowdfunding per se has been one of the best options for the SMEs, okay. In terms of your first question, yeah, for the zakat, for the tax exemption, yeah, I think they do have that kind of, they give that kind of, what do you call it, specialty or that kind of treatment, yeah, because they want in fact, the licenses that has been approved, is actually approved by the SC. So the government actually attached to this. So the government also agreed that this equity crowdfunding and B2B lending crowdfunding is getting the attention in terms of playing the roles in the capital market. So it's another source of another tool or source of the capital market. Yeah, I hope